Since the state of Iraq was created at the conclusion of World War I, the Kurds in the north have been in chronic revolt, first against the British and then successive Sunni Arab governments. For years, Baghdad had carried out a policy of Arabisation. This was similar in design to Turkey's policy of Turkification, which they utilised against their own Kurdish population. Today I'm going to discuss the worst period of this policy, that of the Anfal campaigns under Saddam Hussein, which occurred in the late 1980s. In 1980, Saddam invaded Iran, starting a protracted 8-year conflict reminiscent of the First World War. Chemical weapons, trench warfare, and human wave tactics culminated in the deaths of 500,000 people on both sides. The war ended in a ceasefire, with virtually no changes being made to their shared border. But the war was seen as an existential threat to Saddam's government, as soon as it became clear the quick victory he imagined was illusory. The Kurdish region of Iraq had long been divided between two Kurdish tribes, the Talabani and Barzani families. Both had their own political organizations, the PUK and the KDP. Prone to feuding that at times escalated into civil war, in 1986, Iran brokered a truce between them both. This caused Saddam Hussein to fear a joint Kurdish-Iranian front against his government, and in 1987 he put his plan into effect. He appointed his cousin Ali Hassan al-Majid, soon to be known as Chemical Ali, to command the Northern Bureau of the Ba'athist Party. This gave Ali complete power in the Kurdish region. The Anfal genocide soon began, which can be split into 3 campaigns. The first started several weeks after Ali's appointment. Village clearances began, with Kurdish families being forced into government resettlement camps. Chemical weapons were used against the Kurds for the first time in the Balasan Valley. Men were often separated from their families and promptly executed and dumped into mass graves. In all, 703 Kurdish villages were destroyed in 1987. The following year, the campaign continued in much the same fashion. The most infamous attack in this period was that of Halabja, a Kurdish town which was subjected to a massive gas attack. Around 5,000 civilians are thought to have been killed and 10,000 injured. This received worldwide news coverage, but nothing was done to stop the killings. In 2003, the BBC interviewed a survivor who described his experience. Quote, "I was 15 years old when the attack happened. There had been shelling for 3 days, so the schools were closed. I fell unconscious when the bombardment started. Most people were in shelters and underground bunkers. When they realized it was a chemical attack, they tried to get out, but most of them died in their shelters. A bomb fell here, in this small area. Between 250 and 300 people died. In my own family, my mother, brother, and 2 of my sisters died. In all, I lost 35 relatives." The second campaign began in March 1998 with the chemical shelling of a village named Saw Sinan. The villagers were again dumped in government resettlement camps or simply killed. This time, both men, women, and children disappeared into mass graves. The final campaign started on the 25th of August 1988 with the shelling of Badanan. A similar pattern of executions and destruction of villages continued. In all, around 3,000 Kurdish villages were destroyed in the Anfal campaign, which displaced around 1.5 million people. Between 100,000 and 180,000 Kurds were thought to have been killed. Even today, mass graves are still being uncovered. In one location alone, it is thought that around 13,000 people were executed and buried. The effects of the genocide is still felt by Iraqi Kurds today. There are still those waiting to hear what exactly happened to their relatives, who remain missing. Areas ethnically cleansed to Kurds and are now inhabited by Arabs remain a point of contention between Baghdad and the Kurdish regional government. As of 1990, there were still nearly 500,000 Kurdish refugees, or around 10% of the total population. Some families remain refugees or IDPs for decades in poorly constructed camps. The campaign itself failed to destroy the PUK and the KDP. Both parties now run the Kurdish autonomous government in northern Iraq and remain at each other's throats. But a joint Kurdish-Iranian front did not materialize, and the Iran-Iraq War ended in 1988. Unlike many other cases of genocide, however, some of the Anfal campaign leaders eventually faced justice. 2003, after Saddam's regime fell, many were imprisoned and some executed by the new government. Chemical Ali, for his part, was hanged in January of 2010 after a series of trials for crimes against humanity and genocide. Throughout his period in prison, he was unapologetic. In one of his hearings, he stated that, quote, "I'm the one who gave orders to the army to demolish villages and relocate the villagers. The army was responsible to carry out those orders. I am not defending myself. I am not apologizing. I did not make a mistake." Regardless, the Anfal genocide remains the worst case of state oppression against the Kurds of Iraq. But the Iraqi Kurds persevered, and today are the only Kurds who have an internationally recognized autonomous government. What was once unthinkable under the Baathists is now reality. Thanks very much for watching, guys. If you would like to support the channel, please consider subscribing. I'll see you next time.